Welcome to Healthcare Beyond Scrap, formerly known as the DKA channel. I'm your host, David, and thank you again for joining us in today's episode, where we are going to talk about the impact of dementia on our patients and their families, and also some programs that we have in the communities that are very helpful in supporting patients and their families. So I have some wonderful guests here who are going to share their experiences and knowledge in that field with us today. And hopefully it will be a very good help for our viewers, right? So thank you for joining us. And then let's go meet our guests real quick. Our guests are Dr. Lee and Laurie today, very experienced people in this area. So I'm happy to be talking to them and to have you guys on the show today. So thank you for joining us. So let's first of all, tell us a little more about yourself. So let's start from Dr. Lee. Dr. Lee, tell us a little about yourself.
Sure. Thank you, David. It's an honor to be here. My name is Jingyi Li. I am a registered nurse. My clinical background is in long-term care, assisted living. So I work with families, patients living with dementia and their families. I'm also a nursing instructor in Tacoma area.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Dr. Lee, was my instructor. So I really appreciated the work you did, and you are an inspiration on why I decided to discuss this topic. So I really appreciate that. And Laurie, tell us a little about yourself.
My name is Laurie, and I have 8 children, and I have always had an affinity for people with dementia. I worked in a nursing home when I was 16. And then after about 10 years ago, I started working in assisted living and retirement homes. And while I was working at one of those, I saw an ad I was working part-time at the time. I saw an ad for a online teaching position for people with dementia. And so now I've worked for Lutheran Community Services for the past 5 years, teaching abstract art and music for people with dementia.
Awesome. Thank you, Laurie. And I did meet you also through Dr. Lee when I was doing my bachelor's in nursing. And they inspired me actually to discuss this topic because it was a big eye-opener for me on what the role nurses can play in supporting patient and family in the community. So, thank you to both of you, and thank you for joining me today, so we can discuss this. Before we get into the nitty-gritties of it, I think it is important for us to understand the big picture. And one of the reasons why I chose to discuss this topic really is because when we talk about dementia, people really think about the hospital setting or the long-term care, memory care, setting. But you guys' work is focused on people in the community living with dementia and their families. And I think majority of people with dementia actually live at home with families. Mm-hmm. And yet we don't really talk about, the impact that this has on them. So I'm glad and happy that we are going to be talking about this. So let's start first of all by looking at what dementia is. Dr. Lee, if you can tell us what dementia is, that'll be very nice. And Let's start from there.
Sure. So I will keep it short.
Yes, you appreciate that.
So I would say dementia is an umbrella term for several illnesses characterized by memory and cognitive function decline. So for people living with dementia, they experience memory and cognitive function loss. But overall, they are also experiencing decline in their physical function, as well as their activity of ability to perform activity of daily living. Although memory and cognitive function decline is the clinical hallmarks of dementia, people living with dementia often experiences behavioral and psychological symptoms of dementia. For example, hallucination, depression, agitation, change in their sleep and appetite.
Thank you. What do you think is the role nurses can play, right, in supporting people with dementia and their families, right, in the community?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I would answer that question, in like two ways. So first one is we have nurses working in community healthcare settings. So for those nurses, they can help with prepare the journey of the illness, because we know currently there's no treatment for dementia. So once someone get diagnosed with dementia, that can be a trauma for the whole family. So helping with care coordination as nurses in community care setting, that would be one way to support this population. And if you are nurses working in acute care or long-term care settings, you feel like I don't really have an opportunity to actually support people living with dementia in community health care settings. That's actually not true. You can reach out to your local community centers or senior centers. Maybe start with volunteer, and then using that volunteer experience to share the knowledge that you have about dementia with people living in the community. And a lot of times I share that with my students that as nurses, we take a lot of information, knowledge as granted. When we share that information and knowledge with our community partners, you will be surprised by how less people know about those information. So I would say it starts with volunteer, share the knowledge and the skills that you have. Another thing I want to mention is, as nurses, we can work to advocate for this population. As David mentioned earlier, many people living with dementia, they are actually living at home with their family caregivers. A lot of times we pay our attention to people living with dementia in acute care setting or long-term care setting. But actually people living in the community, this population also need a great support.
Yeah.
So if you are nurses, it doesn't matter you are practicing nurses or if you are nursing students, if you have time, if you have the opportunity to maybe talk to someone in public health setting or someone who is doing policy, mention that needs that you see in the community. That way, you're actually making a great impact on this population.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lee. In fact, very important that you mentioned that, like when with the information we have as nurses, when we share, you begin to realize how little like people's family supporting their family members who are, dealing with dementia, have about dementia. So if they don't have the knowledge and the skills, they are not able to support the family as they should, and sometimes can lead to a lot of complications or difficulty for both the patient and the family. And Laurie, you work with this patient in the community. Amazing work that you do. I really appreciate what you do. Can you start off by telling us some of the impacts that you see that this, dementia has on patients and their families in the community?
Yeah, I get a lot of phone calls from people looking for some sort of services. A lot of it is for respite care because they're taking care of their person with dementia 24/7. And as Dr. Lee said, they don't necessarily know how to take care with someone with dementia because it seems like their person doesn't know what to do. They start treating them like a child. And then that causes agitation within the person with dementia, that type of thing. So one thing is that, the support of the education, of what is dementia, how can I help my person, that type of thing. So I really see that. I see caregivers that come. I get a lot of calls, from that. And then, just where is a safe place that I can take my person with dementia, because families experience their world getting smaller and smaller because the person with dementia may have behaviors, as Dr. Lee pointed out, that maybe aren't accepted in the community, of getting aggressive or saying they lose filter. And so they will say what comes to their mind and lose those social cues, type thing. And people don't have one client who got kicked out of a grocery store because he was hugging all the people in the grocery store. So they need a place where they can take their person with dementia where they're kind of off duty at that time. Don't forget.
Well, yeah,
That wasn't
thank you.
what I
Yeah,
meant.
yeah. And then, Dr. Lee, do you have anything you want to add?
Yeah.
What do you think, like the impact of dementia on both patients and then the family members?
Yeah. I think Laurie already said that perfectly. That reflect a lot of stories that people are experiencing, a lot of families they're experiencing. So I want to talk about this from a perspective as an immigrant.
Yeah.
And also as an early stage people, for those who have early stage dementia. So I work with Chinese American population. I try to implement the memory cafe in this population. And by working with this population, what I learned is the family caregivers actually going through further struggles. One common thing is a lot of people who come to the US, sometimes they don't speak English. So reaching out to the healthcare to get support, that can be a barrier.
Yeah.
And the other thing is a lot of people who moved from a different country to the US, they still have their strong support in their home country.
Yeah.
So when they come to a new country, they don't have anyone to support them.
Yeah.
So finding the support and using that language, a new language, to find that support can be a challenge.
Yeah, that's really true. And I think this should be a very good kind of how do you call it? Information for other people of other cultures also who are living in the United States to, because like you say, people could have a fear of even going to seek for help, or because they don't know how to navigate the healthcare system or who to talk to, to get help. So, having that support, there would be very helpful. So I think, for nurses, we have a very big role to play in this, to making sure the information reach people about programs like what Laurie has running with, OMA.
One thing I want to add to that too is that when the person first has dementia, they may start to notice that they're having memory loss, and they'll do whatever they can to hide that from people.
Yes.
And so oftentimes their own physician doesn't even catch that they have dementia. My mom got quite far in her dementia journey before it was the doctor finally saw it, because for 20 minutes she could hold a conversation, wouldn't start repeating type thing, and he didn't see that. And so I know some people that they're still driving, they have dementia, and which is a scary thing for them and also other people on the road. And so I think just that education for the families. So many times you hear people who have been asked, when was your person diagnosed? Well, they were diagnosed this time, but looking back, I can see they had it for like 3 years beforehand.
Yeah, and which is very true, as somebody who was practicing in the inpatient setting, sometimes you have patients who are trying to hide it. I remember one instance where this patient, I was like, "Oh, do you know where you are?" She said, "Of course." And I said, "Can you tell me?" She said, "Oh, you are trying to trick me, and try to throw me off, to divert the question." So and I realized she's trying to hide because she doesn't remember. Yeah. So we should watch out for that, right? If you notice family member not remembering things right or trying to hide it, then you should start looking for, seeking help to try to figure out as soon as possible what is going on. Now, we've talked about how this impacts families. And one thing I think we did mention is burnout, right? How this can lead to the caregiver burnout, where those who are not familiar with caregiver burnout, it is where the person supporting the family member with dementia end up getting exhausted and overwhelmed from the continuous support they have to provide. It's more like a 24-hour care, right? You have to be there for the person through thick and thin, and sometimes you lose track of your own life because you are sucked into supporting your family member. So it could end up leading to a burnout, and you wouldn't have the strength to even support the person again. So
Right.
Yeah. So you run a program that help families and the patient as well. So please tell us a little about this program.
5 years ago, I just celebrated my 5-year anniversary. Yes, I came across this ad for an art instructor for the Lutheran Community Services. And when I did my initial interview with them, they told me the name of the program was called Opening Minds Through Art. And the next day I was going to have my bigger interview. I went and looked it up. I was so excited by it. I watched everything I could possibly find on it. Opening Minds Through Art was developed by the Scripps Gerontology Center at Miami University in Ohio.
Oh, okay.
And they, purposely, it was started by Dr. Elizabeth Lucon, back in 2007. And, they did the program uses abstract art to develop relationships between the person with dementia and caregivers or volunteers. It was started as an intergenerational program because one of the other things that is an issue is that the way that our families live now, they're so spread out about the country. Younger people don't see their grandparents anymore as much as they used to when we lived close communities. And so there's so much, that's part of where the disconnect of not knowing what dementia is, and that comes in. And so the Opening Minds Route was for this intergenerational program and have like university students or young kids in high school or whatever get together with the people and do art together. So it is an art program, but the outcome is not really art, it's the relationship. Because people with dementia can still make new relationships. They may not remember certain things, but the relationships they can. And I've seen that happen in my own classes. Yeah. And so I started teaching the art classes, and it was right during the pandemic when I was hired. So I rolled out the first Opening Minds Through Art online. And that was a whole other, I'm working with a lot of seniors and we're doing Zoom and, it was a lot of things, but it worked that way too. And that's when we also saw, and OMA saw, that the caregiver could kind of be a volunteer also because we couldn't have the volunteer. So the caregiver and the person with dementia, they started to develop a totally different relationship. And in that, it became like a respite from the regular day-to-day set schedule that they were facing, and which has been a really beautiful thing that I have seen over the 5 years that I have been teaching it. And then 3 years ago, we also had a music program called Music and Memories. That person quit, and they said, well, Lori, you can take over or we're going to cancel the program. Well, the other thing about this program is if I have enough volunteers, I can offer the person, the caregiver, 2 hours of free respite, because that is the one thing about respite for caregivers is expensive. A lot of the home health care stuff, it's at $50 an hour. And I don't make $50 an hour. So I know, but a lot of people don't make that much. And it's out of, so then, yes, the caregivers get exhausted mentally and physically, emotionally,
Yeah.
And so what the Opening Minds Through Art and the music, I teach them back to back. And what it does, it gives the person with dementia a way to communicate, because some people with dementia don't speak anymore. But they can speak through their art, through their body language, through just their facial expressions. And then their caregiver or the volunteer can see that there's other ways for people to communicate. And then also what it does, it brings up, because we teach abstract art. So when we ask them to name the project, and they can look at it and go, oh, you know what this, and they can bring up memories that maybe they've never even shared with their loved one. So it's a fantastic program.
Yeah. And so besides the music and arts and viewers, as you can see, there are some pictures and videos on the screen as you are watching us. These are some of the things that you see Lori doing in her program. So yeah, some music and some pictures or artwork from the participants on the screen. So enjoy that whilst you listen to us. So with besides music and arts, does OMA, which is Open Mind for Arts.
Yes.
Do they offer any other programs?
Yeah. So what OMA has, the OMA program is actually international. They have people, there's the training. You get trained to be a facilitator for this program. And then we're the only ones in Washington State so far. I would love other people to do the training and put it into their communities, offer their communities. It's also in Brazil and Indonesia and Canada.
Oh,
Mhm.
nice.
And then the other thing that Opening Minds Art does internationally, they do an international art show every year. It's online. This last year in 2024 was the second time that they did it. And we submit all the different places all over the world, submit pictures of the art. And then an independent group of people selects them. Each time I've had some of my artists selected, and they're so happy because what it does is it gives them, they're not just doing something that's going to be thrown away. This is like a legacy. This is a gift you can give. I have some people, after they're done with their paint, they're all paintings, they're all multi-layered to hold their attention, to show depth and interest. And then after they're done, I keep their paintings for about 8 weeks. Then we do an art show in the classroom, and they're all matted and they have their titles on them. We ask them to title them if they can. If they can't title them, we take it around. We show it to everybody, like, what do you see when you look at this? And then the person with dementia has choices like, would you like to name it this or this? You know, so, and it's just neat because, like, I don't know. I have, one new guy that came today to my classes, and he named his painting The First Try.
Oh, nice.
And so what a neat, you know, right? He's like, I don't know about this, you know. And he's an architect. He was an architect before he retired. And so he's has things very linear, and now he's doing abstract art. He's not so sure about it, but, it's failure free. So anybody, whether they were an artist or not, actually helps if you weren't an artist. And so,
I would love to see that first try art. Yeah,
right? Yeah, the first try art. Yeah,
I really like the title, so I'm curious to see how the art looks like.
Yeah. And so then OMA also has that on their OMA website.
Okay.
OMA, you can just look up Opening Minds Through Art. They actually have a few art projects that you can see online to give you an idea of how you can do this. If you can't come to a class nearby, I also, if you go to my to Lutheran Community Service or call the number there, I can give you the website I put my music online every week. So you can see my music playlist. In my music class, we have a chair dance. We have a scarf movement. We have a rhythm exercise, and we have a lot of laughter.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's so many times we sing these songs and I have clients that are 36 to 100. So we're listening to it's like a karaoke class, a whole class of karaoke. We have the words up on the screen. We sing along. We play rhythm instruments, and we get to see, like, wow, that was actually the words that song said. You know, sometimes it's such a surprise. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And with Dr. Lee, you bring students to have some experience with what Laurie does.
Yeah.
From your side, what are some of the benefits you've seen that this have for students, right? I was part of it. I enjoyed really getting to learn about everything that you do, Laurie.
Yeah.
So you have had a lot of students go through your hands through these programs and stuff like that. First of all, let me start this. How did you hear about the program? And also, what are some of the benefits you think this has brought to your students?
Yeah, sure. So how I got to know the program, I'm doing research in the area of dementia family care. So actually one of my colleagues got me connected with Laurie because we are sharing the similar interest. And then I see this is a great place for students to learn about community health. I do work with a lot of students who are already registered nurses practicing in acute care setting. So even though a lot of them, they have had experience working with people with dementia, but it's in acute care setting.
Yes.
So far I had about 3 or 4 groups of students, came to Laurie's program to volunteer. And I received a great feedback from the students. For example, one student shared with me that, So she works in acute care setting. She has a lot of experience working with people with dementia, but she found herself never had experience to sit down and talk to that person and seeing that person as a person instead of someone on their checkoff list.
Yeah.
So in OMA, during the music hours, the students, they just enjoy that time, as you probably can tell. And also they, during the art session, they are working on art project together and they talk about their experience. So the students, they can actually, learn about like hear about their life stories. And at one moment, a lot of my students, they just realized they didn't even see that person as someone with dementia. They just see them as, older adults living in the community, and they are learning things from them. So that's it. I would say that is a great experience that the students are getting from this program. And the other thing is, I think the students, they get inspired by volunteering for Laurie's program. As you, as an example.
A big example.
Because you volunteered for the program, and then you are able to combine your interest and helping to raise the awareness for this population.
And it's a big one. It was like I mentioned earlier, a big eye opener for me. I'm like, this is great. Why don't people know about this, right? Because this is a very good thing that is out there that can really support patients and their families, right? And so that they don't feel isolated, like you're saying, Laurie, build connection with people, build connection with also healthcare providers and staff who begin to actually understand what is going on in the community and find out resources that can support them. I know, Laurie, you did mention even funding being cut. I believe we having some conversation behind the camera. I talk about some fundings being cut, and that could affect the program and stuff like that. But I'm sure if there are a lot of people aware of this program, you can have some how do you call it? Sponsors that decide to come in and support this program, and you could also have more volunteers, who could come. There are families watching out there. Maybe they have family member with dementia and they don't know where to go or how to get support for them. Doing some art and music, in your program helps in alleviating like the same form of the respite care, for both the patient and the family members who are providing the care, right? And great way for families also to connect with their family members through the art. I was there seeing like how family members start side by side doing art together. It's beautiful with the nursing student also getting engaged. This is amazing. So I think it's a great program. And can you think of any other benefits that this could have? Not only for the patient, but we can talk about patient, family, or even the nursing student that you see there.
Yes, I have one client and caregiver, and I have permission to share their story. And the husband was taking care of his wife. She has early onset dementia. That means dementia you get before 70 years of age, and that is increasing throughout the world. There's people as young as in their 30s and 40s that are getting dementia. We're not really sure why it's happening. And so he married his wife later in life. The second marriage is for them both. And he was in their 60s when they got married. And 2 years later, she was diagnosed with dementia. He's been caring with her for 8 years. He had to have surgery and he couldn't take care of his wife then. So they moved her into an adult family home. And then while he was recovering from surgery, his daughter, who was a kindergarten teacher, came in and took her mom to classes. And she enjoyed that different connection with her mom so much that even when he came back, she still to this day comes to classes together with her mom. So we got the husband, the daughter, and the mom doing the art together. And it's a total different connection than they had before. They have laughter. And even though the mom doesn't speak that much anymore, the person with dementia, she speaks to them through the class. And we do the music first and then the art afterwards. And a lot of times some of the titles come out of the music. So one of the recent ones was Rock and Roll Hair, and so because we were talking about that in the music. And today they did a picture and it was outer space. And so it's it's a neat thing for the other family members to have come in. I have another family member. We also, for people, it's people who have other cognitive challenges also. Another a person with a traumatic brain injury, and they're at high risk for having developing dementia also. And he comes in, and his parents are in their 80s, and he does have some support in the community and that too, but for a time for it to be about him. Because even when you take someone into a doctor's setting, they don't talk to the person with dementia, they talk to the caregiver. And then the person with dementia feels dehumanized, you know, and the opening minds for art is, this is about you. This is about you. You're still a person. Like Dr. Lee was saying, the dementia is secondary.
Yeah.
When I worked in long-term care, it was, a person was described as a person with dementia, not this is Pam, who used to be a teacher, who loves to do art and has a dog. And oh, by the way, she has dementia. And so that's what happens. We don't talk about that in our classes. We just talk about what we're doing at the time. And the person with dementia at home, most of their decisions are made for them. And when they're in OMA and the music, they get to make all the decisions. We give a lot of musical instruments, and they can play with a maraca, they can use a tambourine, they can sing. They don't have to participate at all. It's their choice. And then same thing with the art. All of our art is multi-layered. So we have, we have a list of how you do the painting, but it's not like a paint and sip. You get to choose the colors. You get to choose if you do that step. You get to choose where you put things down. That's the beauty of it. It's freeing. And that's what people find. It's free. And Curtis, the husband in this situation, he said that was what OMA meant for him. The opening minds for our OMA is that he could be free. He wasn't on, he didn't have to be on watching his wife every second, making sure she wasn't doing something that wasn't socially acceptable, because everybody there is accepting, because it's accepting for the caregivers. They see other caregivers going through the same thing. We become like a big happy family, and we're a support group for each other. They can ask somebody else that's going through the same thing as them. A lot of people who are caregivers go on to develop dementia themselves. And some of the, risk factors for dementia are loneliness, isolation, lack of sleep, all the things that the caregiver is having happen to them. And so when they come to the OMA class, then they get that socialization. They get to do, use their brain in a different way too, use that creative side. So I see so many benefits for that. And then there's the volunteers, like the students. Yes. And I have to say that when David was, volunteering,
oh, no, you're not going to say that.
His nickname was Dancing David, because he would get up there, I dance and interact with the people. If I have someone who's not, participating in the music, I go up and sing into my maraca, right to their face. And so, David was a great help in that. And that is the thing about engaging and having fun. And one of the things we say about when you come into the music and art class is anything that was negative, you throw it off your shoulders and you come in there. And it's a happy place, because one of the things that during OMA, when they went through all the research, and they found some research that people with dementia remember negative feelings. They get negative feelings from a negative experience longer than people without dementia. Also positive. The negative lasts longer, though, than the positive. So if you don't have dementia, you remember the feeling for so long, but the person with dementia is extended. Don't really know why, but they've done research on this. And so having this good experience for this 2 hours can carry over into your everyday life. Like I had one lady, she only came for a few times before she died, but her wife called me up, sent me an email and said, guess what? This is the first day that we didn't experience sundowners, which is an agitation that comes at the end of the day. A lot of people think that happens from the person with dementia having so many things that they're focusing on and whatnot. At the end of the day, they're just at it. And that's when you get a lot of yelling, hitting, that type of stuff, or stubbornness type, whatever. And so, her wife went to bed peacefully that night, and she held her hand, and they sang "You Are My Sunshine" together before she went to sleep, which is the song we always sing.
Beautiful.
So I see so many times that it carries over into their everyday lives.
Yeah.
And they become very special people to me.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you for sharing, Lori. And well, I didn't expect you to talk about my dance, but yeah, I remember I did enjoy my time working with them, and and also, like I always say, eye-opener, learning about everything that you are doing to support those families. I'm like, this is really great. Dr. Lee, you can share with us also. I know yours is got to do more with the academic side and also, the research side of stuff. Where do you see the future? Do you think we should have more of these programs? And what would be your 2 cents or advice on that?
Yeah. So my short answer would be absolutely.
Yeah. I agree with you, Dr. Lee.
Yeah. We do need a more program like OMA, or maybe just OMA.
Yeah.
And also need more program like OMA in different communities, because dementia is not just a disease that exists in one population. People from diverse cultural background, they also experience that. And with the increased number of people aging, so we all need a program like OMA just to have fun and for the caregiver to take a break.
Yeah.
And the other thing I want to mention is, so OMA as a great example, when we adapt a program like OMA, we need to also think about like cultural adaptation. So the music, the arts that Lori are using right now in her program, when we translate that program into a different cultural background, are we using the same music?
Yeah.
So all those aspects I think need to be think about it.
Yeah, I think that's a very good insight, as time goes on, looking into other cultures and what can blend in to support people from other cultures too. That wonderful input there. Yeah, I didn't think about that, but I think it's a very great idea. Yeah, and Lori, so we are coming to the end of the program. I want to know, how do people find you? How can people also get engaged in this program? Let's say if I want to be a volunteer, how can I go join? If I want to be, I have a family member suffering from dementia and I want to find this program, where can I find you? And, you're talking about you guys having some of these programs internationally. Yeah. And I also want you to talk at the end of it, talk about if somebody even wants to start this program, is there any way they can go about it?
Right. I would love to see other people start this program. That's been my goal all along. So if you would like to volunteer, or if you have a family member that's affected by dementia, right now I have 2 classes, one in Tacoma and one in Edgewood in Pierce County. Right now we have funding for Pierce County, and taking people at both those classes. You'll see the phone number on the screen. Call that phone number. That's my office number, and leave a message, and I can get back to you within a week, and we can set you up. There's no prerequisite. It's free. The classes are free. All the supplies are provided. And if you want to be a volunteer, same thing. Just let me know. We also have there's a program that, we're called Retired Senior Volunteer Program. And a lot of our volunteers come through there. So you can volunteer through there. It's for people who are 55 and older, and then volunteer for OMA at the same time. And I take volunteers. It's funny because I had somebody ask one time what my age for volunteers was, the youngest, and I said 16, and they said, well, I'm 14. And I said, oh, 14. I meant to say 14. And that 14-year-old young man became my best volunteer.
Nice.
He made such a connection with this lady who was one of my clients. And it was really just a special time. He didn't know anything about dementia. I do some training for people so they can learn about some basics of dementia. And then I'm always there to ask questions. I'm always roaming around that. So that's, ways that you can get involved. And what was the second question?
Yeah, I was thinking about like, I mean, I think,
Yeah. So if you would like to, you can look at Opening Minds to Art, Scripps Gerontology Center. I believe it's oma.org. And
okay, I'll have it on the screen.
You'll put it on the screen. Yeah. The training, I will tell you right up, the training costs $1,000. But the training goes through extensive training in dementia, and it goes in training why we use abstract art, what we do. And then with that training comes so much support for starting your own program that gives you get 20 projects that are laid out with what supplies you need. Even if you can't, kind of worried about what you say, it tells you what to say if you need that kind of support. It gives you the project directions to hand out, where to buy supplies. There's an online portal for the person who gets trained. You have support for the rest of your time with this. And then I also am so passionate about it. I would step alongside you. You could call me and I could, help you work out any bugs that you have for adapting it to your community. And like Dr. Lee said, yes, this is easily adaptable to other cultures. The music, I do it pretty much free on my own. And even in one culture, you have different, I have one person who's like, well, I like any music, but backcourt country. I'm like, I don't even know what that is, but yeah, okay. So we do country, we do rock and roll, we do pop, we do, so yes, it's, and I don't know exactly what they do for internet. There's internationally, Dr. Lika went down to Indonesia to help them start the one in Indonesia and also in Brazil, which is like an amazing, the people at OMA are very passionate about, as we are, about supporting people with dementia and their caregivers. And also we have a lot of people who are retiring and, they can be volunteers.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you for giving that insight. I have the website and then Laurie's phone number on screen. So if you want to contact Laurie, about, wanting to be part of this program either with your family or even as a volunteer, please call Laurie or go to the OMA website and check out what they have, the programs they have over there.
I want to add one thing.
Yes, Laurie.
Is that, they don't have, if they can come and just audit one of the classes to see if it's something they'd be interested in. Perfectly fine for volunteers, clients, or somebody who wants to be trained in it. Come see my class, see what it's like, see what you can do. And then the biggest thing is adapt it to your people.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, awesome. I mean, I would highly recommend Laurie's program, the OMA program. And I think OMA is being supported by other facilities and organizations, I believe, like people who provide the space for this to take place and stuff like that. So, Dr. Lee, do you want to throw light on that? Or do you want Laurie to throw light on that?
Yes. And actually, this is how we became introduced to the university's students at first, is Dr. Lee's colleague had called the Mountain View Community Center and asked if they had any program on Wednesdays between these times that the students could volunteer at. And my program happened to be during that time.
Oh, okay.
And that is how it came about, which has been just a blessing for both programs. For me, having extra people to help. I bring a lot of supplies to the programs, and then also for the university students. And then in Tacoma, I meet at St. Mark's Lutheran Church by the Narrows, and they have been wonderfully supportive of us having a program there. And then pretty soon, I'm going to be having a program at the Mustard Seed Foundation in Key Center.
Wow.
Oh, nice.
So I'm starting my class there in September.
Oh, nice. Wow.
Gonna be
You're growing. Yeah. That's, and I hope more people get to hear this and join, because I know how wonderful this is. Just, engaging with, the program,
right?
The patient and family. I think
really need volunteers. I really need volunteers. I'd love to offer. Some people don't want to leave their person with dementia, but some people are desperate. They don't have any break. I have, one of my very first clients, his His family lives nearby too, but they did not want to be engaged with their mom once she got dementia. And he quit work and was isolated. He just saw his wife 24/7.
Yeah.
And so he started coming to OMA, and we offered him respite for about 3 years.
Oh, nice.
And that was his first time getting respite. Now he has other respite. That opened to him to finding some more.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Well, anyway, we are almost at the end of this show now, I would say. And I really want to appreciate both of you for coming on. I know it's not easy making time, but I admire the work both of you do, because I got to know the program through Dr. Lee. And Dr. Lee, I know, being your student, I know how passionate you are about, dementia and, supporting people with dementia and their family in the community. So I really appreciate what you are doing. Thank you.
That's
Thank you
why
very
I'm
much.
here today. And I just want to give a shout out to all my students who supported Laurie's program.
I agree.
I would say I did not receive any negative feedback after the volunteer experience in Laurie's program. Sometimes in the beginning, the students might say, I did not sign up for this group. But at the end, they will say, I'm glad I'm in this group.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you will.
Yeah, I'm glad. I'm so happy I was able to, experience this and, inspiring me to even discuss this topic. So I'm very grateful for that. Yeah. Laurie, any last words?
When I told one of my volunteers today that I was going to do this interview, she said, it's funny because when we were playing one of our songs today, she was thinking of you dancing around. And she's like, what, David? I said, yes, dancing David.
Yeah.
So, I just, please share this program with other people. Like David said, we need funding. We're always looking for funding. Have funding right now, but that's going to end soon. If you're a millionaire, you want to give us some money, please. It's so needed to support our caregivers.
Yeah.
And our people with dementia.
Yeah. So, if you're watching, please, check out OMA. I'm putting their website on here. I'm also putting Laurie's contact on the screen for you to check it out. Let me call Laurie's, phone number here real quick, and it will be on the screen as well. It's, 253. If you're outside the US, that'll be +1, right? So +1 253 722 5692. Again, 253 722 5692. Or you can go to www.lcsnw.org and check out the website if you want to learn more about this program. If you have a family member, dealing with dementia and you are taking care of the person and you are tired and sometimes you don't know where to get help, this is an opportunity for you. If you know anybody in your community that is also struggling to get help, or find something to do to support their family, this is a program that I think you should share with them that would give them some insight to where to look for help and how to get help. So thank you once again for joining us. We've come to the end of this show. And remember, this is the show that is called Healthcare Beyond Scrap. We always want to have real conversations, just like you've heard from us today. And I'll see you in the next show. This is David, and thank you for joining us.